Hello, class, and welcome to Fail Films 101, a pod class about the shittiest movies humankind has to offer and why we love them. I'm your instructor, Professor J, and class is in session. Welcome to our very first class. I am so excited to be doing this. I've got so much planned out for our upcoming sessions. I've even got some little side projects, I guess I could say, to kind of go along with what we'll be covering in here. None of it's required. It's all just kind of for funsies. So I've got a Google Classroom set up. I'll be posting class discussions on there, some supplemental materials regarding the movies we discuss, things like that. If you're interested, you can download the Google Classroom app, or you can go to classroom.google.com and type in the classroom code Z as in zebra, WI 513S. That's ZWI 513S. I've also got a Facebook group set up. I'll be hosting some watch parties for the movies we discuss. You can find that at Fail Films 101 Watch Parties. And I've also got a Facebook page and a Twitter account set up, both of which can be found by searching Fail Films 101 on the respective websites. And yeah. And with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive on into our very first unit, entry-level classics. These are the movies that I firmly consider to be the must-sees of the bad movie world. You know, if you were going to take a film appreciation class on movies that are actually good, you'd probably be discussing Citizen Kane, Casablanca, The Godfather. A more contemporary class might even bring up Pulp Fiction and Fight Club. Depending on your professor, maybe they'd even talk about Inception. You know, things like that. When it comes to the impact that these movies made to the good movie world, the movies we'll be discussing in the entry-level classics unit are right up there in the bad movie world. They're the movies that you just have to see if you want to really dive into the world of bad movies. And what better way to kick off this unit than with probably the most famous bad movie of the modern era, 2003's cult classic, The Room. It's the perfect storm of bad acting, bad writing, bad cinematography, and a legendary story of how it all came to be. So legendary, in fact, that one of the stars of the movie wrote a book called The Disaster Artist: My Life Inside the Room. And that book was turned into a hit film of its own. The Room is basically the vanity project of a man named Tommy Wiseau, a man so mysterious and unusual that barely anybody knows anything about his background. Nobody knows where he's from, how old he is, where he got the $6 million he used to make the steaming pile of garbage. A little bit of his history is covered in the book, but even then, he's still an enigma. I personally have met Tommy Wiseau twice in my life, and both times I was certain that I was making contact with an alien life form. If you've never watched The Room, I have something that I'd like you to do after class. Now, again, nothing is mandatory in this class. There's no assignments, grades. This is all just about me sharing my love of bad movies with you. But I do think that this suggestion may give you a little bit of an interesting perspective. First, you watch The Room, the movie itself, and then either read the book in print or listen to the audiobook or do both at the same time. The audiobook is fantastic because the author of the book is the one doing the reading, and he does an amazing Tommy Wiseau impression. It is genuinely funny. And then after you read or listen to or both with the book, you watch the movie again, keeping everything in mind that you've learned from the book. So I don't ruin your experience of reading or listening to The Disaster Artist. I'll just give you the history of the movie that was known before the book came out. Essentially, a mysterious man from a mysterious country of origin uses his mysterious fortune to make a movie. Most of the actors were never given a full script, only the segments that they were filming that day. So most of the people who were in the movie had no idea what was going on in the very movie that they were acting in, and it showed. When the rumor got out a few years later that the movie didn't have a complete script at all, Tommy released it to the public, and honestly, it's even more batshit bananas than the movie itself. And honestly, that's saying something. If I can find a PDF of the script, I'll be posting it in the Google Classroom for you so you can read it for yourself, because it's wow. It's something. I have no words. There will be a part of the script that will make you think that it's trolling, but I promise you this is 100% real, authentic Tommy Wiseau writing. And when you get to the part of the script that I'm referring to, you will know. You will know just by reading it. Anyway, after the filming of this movie wrapped, Tommy Wiseau rented a huge billboard in LA, and all it had on it was the name of the movie, a number to call for the RSVP to the premiere, which, as I'm sure 99.9% of people know, that's not how movie premieres work. And a huge, unsettling picture of him just staring directly into the camera. This billboard was up for about 5 years, according to Seth Rogen, who obviously lives in LA, was a big fan of the movie, and he played a part in the movie adaptation of The Disaster Artist. But he said, living in LA, he saw this billboard up for about 5 years. And of course, the movie came out, it completely flopped. But it gained a new life when a couple of college kids went to go see it on a whim. Basically, they were just going to the movies, and they saw that there was a sign. I forget if it was on the box office window or on the poster itself, but it said, "No refunds." So they saw this and they were like, oh God, we're in for a treat. So they went to see it. Obviously, they laughed their asses off because it was just laughably terrible. And while they were watching, they saw an interesting decoration in the background. It is a framed picture of a spoon that is never commented upon, never explained. It's just there. So they bring a few friends to come and see this movie, I want to say a week or so later, and they all bring plastic spoons to throw at the screen whenever they see the framed spoon in the background. And eventually this turns into them creating Rocky Horror-esque callbacks that they just yell at the screen. They're throwing the spoons, they're tossing a football in the aisle at the movie theater, and it just becomes this big thing, and it just spreads all over the country. Before you know it, screenings of The Room are just popping up all over the place. And once this happens, Tommy Wiseau is like, yeah, this is what I intended all along. This is a dark comedy, and I never intended it to be a serious movie. But before this movie came out, he described it as a drama with the passion of Tennessee Williams. So, think what you will. But the plot of the movie, it follows a man named Johnny, and he's blatantly based on Tommy Wiseau himself. Fan fiction fans would recognize this as a self-insert Mary Sue, which basically means they put themselves in the story and they are viewed as a person who can do no wrong whatsoever. He has a great job at the bank, a fiance who he adores, and throughout the movie, they never call each other fiance. They call each other future husband and future wife. And the reasoning behind this is because Tommy wanted this movie to be as American as apple pie, and he didn't want any foreign words in it. Yeah. So they're future husband and future wife. He also has a handsome best friend and a young man who he just kind of looks after like the son he never has. I don't really know how to describe their weird relationship, but it's unique, to say the least. So basically, on the outside looking in, Johnny has this perfect life until his future wife, Lisa, begins sleeping with his handsome best friend, Mark. That's basically the plot of the movie. There's also a million side plots that are picked up and dropped for no discernible reason. These side plots serve no purpose whatsoever, but honestly, The Room wouldn't be The Room without them. At one point, Lisa's mother casually mentions having breast cancer. Like, she brings it up about as casually as, say, someone who has, how do I put this? What's like a benign thing? Someone who has athlete's foot. She's like, oh yeah, I have breast cancer, just so casually. And Lisa just says, you're going to be fine. They're curing lots of people every day. And they never mention the breast cancer again. Ever. It's just completely dropped. And then again, later on, Johnny's kind of sort of not son is held at gunpoint by a drug dealer. He later explains that he bought some drugs off of this drug dealer to make money. Yeah. That side plot is dropped, and we never see or hear from the drug dealer again. We never hear about we never hear about the not son's drug problem ever again. There's even a character who just randomly shows up and disappears, like, later on. Like, he just stops showing up. We never see this character again. There's also a completely random scene where they're taking wedding pictures a month before the wedding, and they just start playing football wearing their tuxedos. At one point, two completely random characters we've never seen before sneak into Johnny's condo to have sex. None of these plot points that I have brought up have anything to do with the main plot, but nobody who's seen The Room can't imagine this movie without these magic moments. And with that, that's going to do it for me today. So for more information on The Room and all the other movies we'll discuss in this unit and later on down the road, be sure to check out our Google Classroom, which can be found under the code ZWI513S. And be sure to check our Facebook group, Fail Films 101 Watch Parties. Later on this week, or I haven't picked a day yet, but I'll be sure to announce it in the Facebook group before we have the watch party. Obviously, our first watch party is going to be The Room. It's going to be great. We're going to have lots of fun. It'll most likely be Tuesday or Wednesday nights. I don't know yet, but again, I will make sure to announce it before it actually happens so y'all can make time to join us. And again, follow us on Facebook or Twitter. You can find us at FailFilms101. And that'll do it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Professor J. Class dismissed.